I competed in my first ever Hyrox recently. I'm going to take you through everything I learned from the experience, give you some suggestions about what you should expect for the day, and how my training has been adapted to prepare for my next event. So about the day itself, my first suggestion would be to try and get an early check-in. Now that's what I did for Manchester. My friend was competing a couple hours before me, so I just checked in when he checked in. And the good thing about that was it meant you had plenty of time to sort of assess the whole venue, scout it out, understand where the different stations are, and just really get a feel, start soaking up the atmosphere. And so in the venue, they always have a warm-up zone as well. So if you're unfamiliar with any of the equipment, they've got the full equipment there, right? So you can practice with the sled, practice with the sled pull. Also, when you check in, you get the wristband. Now, if you're competing in the event, I'm pretty sure the competitor wristband gets you in for the whole weekend. So I'd suggest staying around and supporting everyone else as well, because the atmosphere is pretty electric in there. Everyone's just sending it. It's great vibes all around. You may as well stay around and be a part of it. So get there early, check out the venue, get settled in, scout it out. Hyrox is bloody hard. Okay, I knew it was going to be hard, right? All my preconceptions was that it was going to be difficult. I didn't quite give it enough credit as to how hard it was going to be. It could have been that I went out a bit too quick, but the whole thing was pain from the get-go. It was all really tough. This Hyrox was the first time I'd stitched the full thing together. So I'd done a mixed duo simulation, and that was good, and that gave me a feel for the event. So I'd recommend doing a simulation if you can, but ideally do a solo simulation if you're doing a solo race. I competed in the men's solo, so doing a solo fully would have given me a better feel for the actual day itself. Because as I say, it was the first time I'd ever stitched the full thing together, and it's tough. I think I went out a bit too quick at the start. I sent that first K, I was bloody hyped. You've been training for this thing for a little while, you're counting down, you're ready to go, you fly out, or I went flying out, and probably shouldn't have done so. So watch out for that. Now, another thing that's become abundantly clear to me about Hyrox is that it's a running race. Yes, you're doing 8 different physical exercises outside of running, but ultimately half the race is running. And if you can run at a reasonable pace, that's going to knock a lot of time off your overall time. As well, if you're focusing on running, your overall aerobic capacity is going to be increased. I thought I'd done a fair amount of running, right? I did a marathon earlier on in the year, and I thought that, that would just carry me through. That's plenty of running. But I didn't appreciate how tired my legs would be after completing all the different exercises. And as I say, Hyrox was a lot harder than I anticipated. And again, part of that was my legs were fried. And because my legs were fried and half of it was running, I struggled with the runs. I lost a lot of time on the runs, but I thought I was going to gain a lot of time on the runs. So my suggestion to you with this is to prioritize running in your training. Now for this, I'm doing about 3 runs a week. On Instagram, I found a 3-day running routine from Ryan Schledek. Now he's one of the pro Elite 15 Hyrox guys, right? So if he's saying this is what I do to be in the Elite 15, I'm gonna do it. Clearly works for him. And that consists of 3 runs a week. Run number 1 is like a 5 by 5 minutes at tempo. So the tempo pace is sort of around a pace you can keep for an hour. 5 minutes at that pace with like a minute zone 2 in between, 5 times. That's it. Nice and easy. Maybe a warm up before, warm up after. Run number 2 involves a 12 by 400 meters. This should be done at a pace just below your 5K pace. You're really sort of trying to build your speed here. So absolutely sending it for 400 meters, rest for a minute, go again, do that 12 times. And then the final run, which is like the staple run, is the long run. So just trying to build your volume, all zone 2, nice chill pace, conversational pace, just to get that mileage up and build up the aerobic capacity. As I say, this is a running race. If you're a good runner, you will get a really good time in Hyrox. Yes, you have to be physically fit and able to like push a sled, pull a sled, do the burpees and that sort of thing. But running being 50% of it, really just like, I don't know, I think don't miss out on your running. It will humble you. Trust me, it will humble you. Another benefit of prioritizing the running is that your overall fitness will increase. And that'll help with things like the burpees. That'll help with things like the walking lunges. So you're not getting blown out so quickly. Now, the anticipation of the day, the excitement on the day, just the whole hype around it. You've got there early, as we've told you, check in nice and early, get a feel for the event. You've been there a little while, but now you're raring to go. And so you're at the little starting paddock with all the other starters from your tranche, and you've got like TV screen at the top that's counting down, it's watching a video, hyping up, and then it counts down those final 10 seconds. So of course, when it hits 0, all you want to do is send it, but you shouldn't send it. I sent it. I went a bit quicker than I thought. I felt really good on the day, so I thought, you know what? My thought process was, in order to get a quick time, I have to at least start quick, right? But I think that was to my detriment because I sent it on the run and I sent it on the ski. And then quite quickly after that, I deteriorated. My run split times decreased massively throughout the whole thing. I think part of that was me sending it a bit too quick at the start. So try and pace yourself, at least for the first K in the ski. Realistically, you've then got 7 Ks to make up any lost time if you went a bit slow on the first K. And again, with the ski, going 5-10 seconds slower per 500 meters just to not burn out straight away will probably make the difference long term. Obviously, don't be a pussy. Don't just like walk it, right? Unless obviously you're unfit and can't run. Well, not unfit. Unless you can't run, then obviously walk. Fair enough to you. Thanks for even trying the thing. I don't know, I'm fucking cut. Go out at a reasonable pace at the start. It will help you long term. Trust me. As I said, Hyrox was hard. I was flagging throughout the whole race. And one thing I didn't do was fuel during the race. So a suggestion to you would be to try and fuel. And you can do this with like a gel that you would take if you were running like one of the cyst gels. Because they do have little bits of water that you can get whilst you're around. But oh my God, these cups are absolutely tiny. You get 10 ml of water max. I had to grab like 3 or 4 just to try and make a dent. You can't carry your own drinks with you, but you can have gels. So what I would suggest is taking a gel maybe sort of 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, depending on how long you're planning on doing the full thing for, right? So for me, my first one, I got an hour 16. I wanted an hour 10 or an hour 6. So for my next one in Vienna, I'm going for an hour 6. And because of that, I'm going to take a gel. And I think I'm going to have a gel sort of probably 20 minutes in, because then it will start to take effect in that back half of the event when I'm going to really need it. Be aware of the rock zones. You think you've got your 8K to run, right? You've got your 8K to run. You do. You have your 8K to run. That's the race. What I didn't appreciate was the rock zones. So the rock zone is the space in between the running track and the event that you're doing. So you will finish an event, say walking lunges, at one part in the paddock, and before you start your K run, you've got to get to the track. And that space in between is the rock zone. That's where you'll get your water. They had Red Bulls there as well. But there's quite a bit of rock zone. So you're actually probably doing an extra K there. And my suggestion, if you're really like trying to push yourself and get the best time you can, is to not walk in the rock zones. Try not to walk at all. I know you've just finished burpees and your legs are fried and you're knackered, but at least just get to a little jog, start to get the momentum going. So when you hit the track, you can start pushing onto the pace you need to hit. My tips around the skiing would be not sending it too much too early. You're only going to negatively impact the rest of your race. You can't win the race at the first event, but you can lose it. So I think for me, in my next event, I'm going to take the skiing a lot more casually. No, I'm not going to take it casually. I'm not a fucking pussy. I'm going to pace myself a little bit better on the ski. As I was going through the ski in Manchester, I was looking down at my pace, and it was a really good pace, but I probably shouldn't have been at that pace. I remember my friends that were supporting me, like, oh, how are we doing? I'm like, I've gone too quick. And I knew it, and I was panicking because I'd gone too quick. So I was then trying to like slow myself down whilst, I don't know, yeah. So don't set off too quick. And keep an eye on your pace, because then you can adjust accordingly, right? So after the ski, you've got the sleds. And what I learned on the day about the sleds is, at least for me, sled push was okay. Sled pull sucked. Sled pull was a real struggle. I don't know if it's because I'd gone out too hard too early. It was just real tough. It felt like the rope itself had a bit of elastic in it. Every time I pulled, I wasn't actually pulling the sled, I was taking the tension out. So it was sort of harder to get the tension. So a tip would be to try and reach forward, grab the rope, pull as much tension of it as you can before you start walking backwards. If you're walking backwards, I'm not that much of a big man, so I had to walk backwards. There were some big men on the day just absolutely muscling it back. And fair play to you guys. That was me. A sled push went pretty well. My only suggestion tip on that would be to do the technique where you have your arms down the side of the sled rather than pushed in like this, if that makes sense. I'll hopefully have some footage on the screen, because there'll be some physics to it, right? But it's all about center of mass and where your weight is and all that sort of stuff. For me, I just found like you got a lot more leverage and it was better doing it that way. So, and all the Elite 15 do it that way. So if the pros do it, there's got to be a reason, right? I knew burpees were going to be difficult going into it. And I learned on the day that I was correct. They suck. They were horrible. I lost a lot of time in the burpees. It's somewhere that I'm really going to try and improve my time on. Overall, I just need to be fitter. I realized I'm not as fit as I thought I was. Like when you're doing all this high intense stuff back to back to back, it becomes very clear how fit you are. So I've been trying to up my cardio massively, as I say, a lot with the running, prioritize that running. Another thing I learned, and especially like watching the footage back, is that I wasted a lot of time in between my reps. And it wasn't on the ground, it was in the air. So like I would complete a rep and I would stand up and I'd be like trying to catch my breath before then going back down and sort of going through the process again. And you'll see like I had this weird technique which I'd seen Hunter McIntyre do. So, I thought if he could do it, then therefore I should do it. It went okay. You got a good momentum to sort of swing yourself forward and jump. But at the end of every rep, again, I was stood up. I was stood up and I was there catching my breath before going again. So my tip would be to try and get down to the ground as quick as you can. Do your next jump, get back down. If you need to rest at the bottom. Don't rest at the top. I think you need too much time there. There was a lot of learnings from the burpee broad jumps, to be fair. Another learning is that people get in your way. It's a busy day, right? You're not the only person doing Hyrox. People go every 10 minutes and people of all different abilities will be setting off. So there'll be people in front of you most likely. So that was frustrating for me because not that I was very quick, but I was slowed down at times because there was like a guy right in front of me and I couldn't jump because he was there. So my tip around that would be like, try and practice burpees where you jump a bit diagonal and almost sort of try and pre-plan your route a little bit as you're looking ahead and see where you can sort of jump past people. If you're overtaking people, you may be as knackered as I was and you ain't overtaking no one. But if someone's holding you back, you don't want to lose too much time there. So try and jump diagonally around them if you can. So that's the burpees. Oh, another one on the burpees. I knew it was going to be tough. So I thought, let's just pace myself and go slowly the full way. And I did. I went slowly the whole way. But the only thing that guarantees is I'm going to get a slow time. So if you want a quick time, try and attack it to start. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to full send it from the get-go on my burpees. At least as full send as you can do on 80 meters of burpee broad jumps as a nearly 30-year-old man. Now, I feel with Hyrox, the first half of the race is a lot harder than the second half. The sled push, sled pull, then burpees, like that quick fire, you lose a lot of time. I lost a lot of time there. But then you get to the second half and you've got the row, you've then got the walking lunges and the... Walking lunges. I can describe what it looks like. Hammer walk. Hammer walk. Walking lunges. Hammer. What the flip is it called? Farmer's carry. Oh, ding, 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 ding. Okay, yeah, farmer's carry. Farmer's carry, you should be quite quick, right? So in theory, the second half should be quicker than the first half. But anyway, next up, rowing. What I learned from the event is that because I went out a bit quick or because I hadn't practiced everything together, my legs were fried, so my quads were absolutely burning and they started to cramp up during the row. So a suggestion would be to make sure you've like loaded up on electrolytes before the race. That should have avoided that situation for me. As I say, you've just come off probably like the hardest section. You've just done the burpees, which is usually everyone's least favorite. So I took the row as like a bit of time to try and get my breath back, try and get my head back in the game to sort of set me up for the second half, which should be a quicker section. Tips for the row, I'd say try and take long, hard pulls. Don't worry about trying to absolutely send it, getting 40 reps per minute. I'm trying to aim for around 28 to 32 reps a minute and getting real long, hard pulls. Obviously, the less strokes you're doing, even if they are that little bit harder, the less tired you'll be overall. You're doing less activity, obviously. So yeah, so that would be a little tip for that. So next up we've got the farmer's carry, and this one went pretty well for me. This one I did in one go, and that was absolutely buzzing. It seemed a lot further than I first anticipated. It's 200 meters, it's real far, but the biggest like mental win for me was I didn't drop them. And I think to set the tone for the day for me, that really helped, especially for the rest of the events, because like I knew I could dig deep and just stay with it that whole way, and that was really good. So just keep practicing the farmer's carry, get used to different techniques, keep your weight forward, head up, just plow through it. This is one where you can hopefully make up quite a bit of time. Walking lunges, these took a lot more time than I thought they would take. For some reason, I just really struggled with these ones. I wasn't able to sort of span a couple steps together in a row. I had to keep sort of kneeling, standing up, take a breath, like feet together, rest, go again. And again, I'm losing a lot of time at every stand up. So if you're really trying to like get the best time you can, limit the time of rest. Obviously, I mean, yeah, makes sense. Great insight that is. But It's true, right? The more time you're resting in between reps, the longer it's going to take overall. And I took a little bit of time between my reps. It was slower than I anticipated. So get loads of reps in. Practice walking lunges. Practice with the weight above the weight on the day. I did the open, which is like 20 kilograms. So I've been practicing with 30 kilograms and trying to work on the speed throughout as well. And then the last thing is the wall balls, the dreaded wall balls. I knew these were going to be tough. I wasn't looking forward to them. Even like when I finished my last event and I was running and I knew all I had to do was finish the wall balls, but I still was not looking forward to them. However, they started off really well. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I got 35 in a row to like kick off, which was really good. And that like set the tone really well. And I thought, okay, wow, if I've done 35 in a row, that's a good chunk there, right? Just 2 more events and I'm done. Done, easy. And then I dropped it again and dropped it again, and I just couldn't string more than 5 or 6 reps in a row together. And I think the reason for that is in between 40 and 90 reps, it just feels like there's a million reps. Because going from 44 to 45 feels like you're getting absolutely nowhere and you're knackered. It's the last event, you've done 8K, you've done all these different physical exercises, you're so close to the end. Every rep you do, you're like still a million miles away, it felt like. The wall balls sucked, they were real hard. What I'm gonna do next time is try and break it down into sets. And when doing those sets, count down instead of counting up. So say if you're doing sets of 30, aim for 4 sets of 30, right? So if you aim for 4 sets of 30, then obviously you only need to do 100 reps, but you're probably going to get some no reps in there too, most likely. I mean, my lady was super nice. She probably should have no repped me more. Oh, this is a little tip. If you are really sick and you're going to actually win the whole thing, which my friend was that was there, shout out Luke, absolute G. If you're in one of the earlier sessions, which you would be because you put you down your time and your time dictates when you start in the day, then you're probably going to be looked under with a microscope a bit more. So my mate Luke, he gets into the burpees with like a head start of like a couple minutes on everyone else, and it's the first event of the day. So, you know, everyone's excited. All the staff haven't judged anyone yet because no one's got to the wall balls yet. It's the first event of the day. And so obviously they're going to be super clinical about whether you rep or no rep, right? And he got a lot of no reps in the get-go, and that made him lose his head a little bit, rightly so. I would have absolutely lost it as well. So the benefit of where I was in the day, a few hours later, there was loads of people around me. They'd been judging all day. The lady knows I'm not there to take home the bacon. I'm not there to get the flag. I'm there to have a good time. And so because of that, there's probably a few reps that she probably could have no repped me, but she didn't. Anyway, I digress. If you're doing 4 sets of 30, that should give you enough space to like cover your 100. Easy. If not, your last set's super easy anyway, it's just 10. But yeah, counting down from the 30 downwards rather than counting up, it's just a little mental game. It's something I'm going to be trying in the next one. I think that might help. It was a sick day, I'm not gonna lie. I had loads of fun. I wanted to sign up to another one instantly. It's a great atmosphere on the day. They put on a really good show. They've got it drilled really well. We were worried. I've watched another one since, and the different categories obviously have different weights. And so the women's open was on, women's duo open was on, and then the men's open was after. And the men's open was obviously going to be heavier weights. And I know my mate's on soon. I'm like, come on, they haven't changed the weights yet. What's going on? Obviously, they change it in time. They know what they're doing. They've done these events all over the place. There was a lot of things I learned. Ultimately, it was just get fitter and run a lot more. It is a running race. Don't negate any strength training. It will help with the other things. But for me, I think I can gain a lot more time on the running side, and the overall cardio gains that I'll get will help with the burpees and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I learned from my first Hyrox. I've got my second event in Vienna in Feb. I'm going to take all of those learnings that I taught through today, put them into action, and hopefully beat my previous time for one. Hopefully beat the time that's the target. And who knows, baby, could be bringing home a flag. If you're new to Hyrox, good luck in your first event. Just enjoy the day. Treat that first event as like a taster, a benchmark. Don't expect to break records on your first one unless you're an absolute machine. Some people are. That wasn't me. And again, I can tell you as many times as I want how hard it is. But until you're there and doing it, you know, you've just got to come to that conclusion yourself. Yeah, nothing else to add here, I don't think. So I think that's the end of the video. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me today. Let's go get it.